One of the hardest things to navigate in life is the process of moving on from past experiences, especially when those experiences were painful or left us with a sense of loss. It's common to cling to the past, whether it's a past relationship, a career that didn't work out, or a dream that was never realized. We hold on to what was because we fear that without it, we will be left with nothing. But in reality, it is not until we learn to let go of the things that hold us back that we truly open ourselves up to new opportunities and growth. Moving on is not just about leaving something behind. It's about creating the space necessary for new things to come into our lives. It's a step forward, a declaration that we are ready for whatever comes next, even if we don't know exactly what that looks like. The process of moving on requires us to confront the pain and discomfort of what has been lost. This may come with feelings of sadness, regret, or fear. We may struggle with the idea of letting go, thinking that doing so means we are abandoning a part of ourselves. It's important to remember that moving on is not about forgetting or pretending that the past didn't matter. It's about accepting that the past, no matter how meaningful, is no longer serving us. It's a recognition that while the memories and lessons from the past will always be a part of us, they do not have to define our present or dictate our future. Moving on is a choice, and it is often one of the most difficult decisions we can make. To move on, we must first give ourselves permission to grieve. The loss we experience when something comes to an end is real, and denying that pain only prolongs the healing process. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we should just get over it or move on quickly, but true healing takes time. Grieving is not a sign of weakness or failure. It's a natural response to loss. It's a process that allows us to fully acknowledge what we've lost and to begin to make peace with it. Grieving allows us to honor the significance of what is past, and in doing so, we free ourselves to move forward. Only when we allow ourselves to feel the sadness, frustration, or disappointment can we truly release those emotions and open ourselves to the possibility of something new. The fear of the unknown is often what keeps us stuck in the past. When we are unsure of what lies ahead, we may find ourselves holding on to what we know, even if it no longer serves us. This is natural. After all, the unknown can be terrifying, but staying in a situation or a mindset that no longer aligns with who we are can be even more destructive in the long run. Moving on means stepping into that unknown with faith and trust in the process, even when it feels uncertain. It requires us to let go of the illusion that we can control everything or predict every outcome. The future is always a mystery, but it is in that mystery where the potential for growth, joy, and transformation exists. If we cling to what we know, we may miss out on the new experiences and opportunities that could be waiting just around the corner. Another key aspect of moving on is releasing the attachment to expectations. We often hold on to the way we thought things should be, and this attachment can prevent us from moving forward. We may have envisioned a certain outcome or hoped that things would turn out differently, but when reality doesn't meet those expectations, it can feel like a deep personal failure. Learning to let go of these expectations allows us to embrace the present moment as it is, without the weight of what we thought it should be. This doesn't mean that we stop having goals or dreams. It simply means that we release our grip on the need for everything to unfold in a specific way. By doing so, we free ourselves from the pressure and disappointment of unmet expectations and allow life to unfold more organically. Moving on also requires us to cultivate a sense of self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on ourselves when we feel like we've failed or made the wrong choices. We may find ourselves caught in a cycle of self-blame, questioning what we could have done differently or why things didn't work out. But self-compassion is a critical part of the healing process. It means treating ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that we would offer a friend going through a difficult time. It's important to remember that we are doing the best we can with the knowledge and resources available to us at any given time. Moving on is not a linear process, and there will be days when we feel strong and other days when we feel vulnerable. Being compassionate with ourselves allows us to honor these fluctuations and gives us the strength to keep going. One of the most powerful ways to support ourselves in moving on is to focus on the present moment. Often when we are struggling with moving on, we are either ruminating on the past or worrying about the future. We get caught in a cycle of what ifs or should haves, which only keeps us stuck in a place of indecision and uncertainty. By bringing our attention back to the present moment, we can ground ourselves in reality and begin to take small steps toward healing and growth. The present moment is the only place where we can actually take action. It's the only place where change happens. By focusing on what we can control right now, we empower ourselves to create the future we desire, rather than being paralyzed by the past or future. Ultimately, moving on is a process of releasing what no longer serves us and opening ourselves up to new possibilities. It's not about forgetting the past or pretending it didn't matter. It's about accepting that the past is over, and the only thing we can control is how we respond to it moving forward. When we learn to let go, we create space for new growth, new experiences, and new connection. We allow ourselves to evolve, to become stronger, and to embrace the beauty of what comes next. Moving on is not about leaving something behind. It's about making room for something better, for the next chapter of our lives. There is a profound sense of freedom in realizing that we are not defined by the people who leave our lives. Often we become attached to the idea that our worth is tied to the relationships we hold or the people who walk with us on our journey. We create identities based on our connections, finding meaning and validation in the presence of others. But what happens when these relationships end or people leave, whether by choice, circumstance, or simply the passage of time? It can feel as though part of us is being taken away, that the fabric of our identity is being torn. Yet it is in these moments when we feel abandoned or disconnected that we are presented with one of life's most important lessons. The people who leave are not a reflection of our worth or our potential. Their departure is an opportunity to rediscover who we are, to reclaim our personal power, and to grow in ways we never imagined. The first truth we must confront is that people change. Life moves forward, and so do we. People come and go, sometimes by choice, sometimes through circumstances beyond our control. It's important to remember that someone's decision to leave or distance themselves is not an indictment of who we are. It's simply a natural part of life. Relationships shift, grow, and sometimes come to an end. But this is not something we should fear or take personally. Life is fluid, and people move through it at different paces, driven by their own needs, desires, and paths. Just as we change and evolve, so too do the people we encounter. Their departure is a reflection of their own journey and has nothing to do with our inherent value as individuals. For many of us, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the people who leave our lives are somehow rejecting us. We internalize their actions and begin to question our worth. We may find ourselves replaying events over and over, wondering what we did wrong or where we failed. This process, however, can lead to unnecessary suffering. It's important to remind ourselves that we are not defined by others' actions. People leave for many reasons, but those reasons are often about them, not us. If we can shift our focus from the loss to the growth that can come from it, we begin to see that their departure is an invitation to look inward, to reflect, and to build a stronger sense of self. One of the most empowering realizations in moments of abandonment or change is that we are capable of standing on our own. We often lean on others for validation or a sense of security, but when someone leaves, we are given the opportunity to discover just how strong and resilient we are on our own. This process isn't easy. It requires us to face the discomfort of solitude, to sit with our emotions and our fears. But it is in this space of vulnerability that we learn the most about our own strength. We learn that we can survive, that we can move forward, and that we can find peace within ourselves rather than seeking it externally. The absence of someone else's presence does not diminish our value or our capacity for happiness. It merely clears the space for us to realize the depth of our own potential. When people leave, they often make room for new connections and opportunities. While it may be painful to let go, the process of releasing those who no longer serve our journey allows us to open up to new people who can support and uplift us in different ways. It's easy to become attached to the familiar, even when it no longer serves our best interests. But sometimes it's only through letting go of old relationships that we make room for healthier, more fulfilling connections to enter our lives. The people who come into our lives after others have left may not be the same, but they can offer us new perspectives, new lessons, and new experiences that push us to grow in ways we never imagined. The process of letting go also teaches us about the impermanence of everything in life. Nothing lasts forever, and this includes relationships, jobs, experiences, and even our own feelings. When we learn to accept this reality, we release the need to hold on to things out of fear of losing them. We start to appreciate the present moment and the people in our lives for who they are right now, rather than for the potential we see in them. This shift in mindset can bring a sense of peace and acceptance, knowing that everything is part of a larger flow and that nothing is permanent. We begin to appreciate people and experiences as they come into our lives without attaching ourselves too strongly to the idea that they must remain forever. Another lesson that comes from the departure of people is the reminder that our growth is often tied to our ability to adapt to change. We are constantly evolving, and the people who leave are sometimes part of that evolution. The relationships that once shaped us may no longer fit who we are becoming. As we grow, we might outgrow certain connections or realize that we need to move in a different direction. This doesn't mean that the people who leave were wrong for us, but it acknowledges that we are on our own unique path. And sometimes that path requires us to let go of certain influences. The people who leave might have been there for a reason, but their absence allows us to step into the next phase of our personal growth, armed with the wisdom and experiences that came from those connections. In these moments, it's also important to practice gratitude for the people who were once a part of our lives. The relationships we experience shape us, teach us lessons, and help us grow. Even when they come to an end, the lessons learned during those times can stay with us, contributing to our overall sense of self. Instead of viewing their departure as a loss, we can choose to view it as a gift, an opportunity to reflect on what those relationships taught us and how they helped us become who we are today. This shift in perspective helps us let go with grace and appreciation, understanding that the chapters of our lives are meant to evolve. Letting go of people is not an easy task, but it is often necessary for our growth and healing. By releasing the people who are no longer meant to be a part of our journey, we create space for new experiences, deeper self-awareness, and healthier connections. The people who leave are not a reflection of our worth, but a reminder that life is constantly evolving. Their departure is an invitation to embrace change, rediscover ourselves, and move forward into the next chapter of our lives with openness and strength. There are times in life when it seems as though the world is working against us, when everything we've built or worked for begins to unravel, and when we are left questioning our decisions and our path. During these times, it's easy to get lost in the feeling of being overwhelmed or helpless. The natural response might be to fight against the current, to try harder, to push through the pain or confusion, or to cling to what we've known, hoping that things will somehow return to what they once were. However, one of the most important lessons we can learn is that it is okay to take a step back. It is okay to pause, to reflect, and to allow ourselves the space to heal, rest, and recalibrate. In fact, this step back can often be the most powerful decision we make. Sometimes, the most important thing you can do is to give yourself permission to not have everything figured out, to let go of the pressure to constantly move forward, and to allow yourself the grace to simply be. We live in a society that often rewards hustle, constant productivity, and the relentless pursuit of success. The message is clear. We should always be striving, always be improving, and always be pushing toward the next goal or achievement. While there is nothing inherently wrong with ambition or growth, the constant drive to be more, do more, or have more can lead to burnout, anxiety, and a deep sense of dissatisfaction. When we feel as though we are constantly running, it can be difficult to recognize when we need to slow down. Yet, taking a step back is not about abandoning our goals or giving up on our dreams. It is about recognizing that there is strength in pausing, in reflecting, and in allowing ourselves to reset. In many ways, taking a step back is an act of self-compassion. It is a reminder that we are human, not machines, and that we need time to rest and replenish in order to move forward with clarity and purpose. Just as a runner cannot sustain a sprint without taking breaks, we cannot sustain a life of relentless effort without giving ourselves time to recharge. This does not mean that we are weak or incapable. On the contrary, it takes great strength and wisdom to recognize when we need rest, when we need to let go of the expectations we've placed on ourselves, and when we need to step away from the chaos of our lives to restore balance. Taking a step back is an act of honoring our humanity and our need for balance. The act of stepping back also allows us the opportunity to gain perspective. When we are too caught up in the daily grind or the emotional turbulence of a difficult situation, we often lose sight of the bigger picture. We may become so focused on our immediate problems, the things that are going wrong, or the obstacles in our path that we forget why we started this journey in the first place. Taking a step back creates the space to look at our lives, our goals, and our decisions from a more objective standpoint. It allows us to ask ourselves important questions. Are we still on the right path? Are the things we're chasing aligned with our true values and desires? Are we prioritizing the things that matter most to us? Sometimes the answers to these questions can only come when we give ourselves the time and the space to reflect without the pressure of immediate action. Taking a step back can also be a form of letting go. Often we hold on to things, whether they are past experiences, outdated beliefs, or toxic relationships, because we feel as though we must keep going, keep pushing, or keep holding on. Letting go can feel like a loss, and it can be incredibly difficult to release what we've been holding on to, even if it's no longer serving us. But stepping back provides the clarity to understand that sometimes we must let go in order to make room for something new. Stepping back does not mean that we are giving up. Rather, it means that we are choosing to prioritize our well-being, our future, and our growth over clinging to the past. This release can be liberating as it frees us from the burden of holding on to things that no longer contribute to our happiness or fulfillment. Taking a step back also fosters the cultivation of patience. In today's fast-paced world, we often feel that everything must happen quickly. We live in a culture that expects instant results, whether it's in our careers, our personal lives, or even in our emotional healing. But healing and growth do not happen on a set timeline. They unfold in their own time, and they require patience. When we step back, we give ourselves permission to honor the natural rhythm of our lives. We allow ourselves to trust the process, even when it feels as though progress is slow or uncertain. This patience cultivates resilience, as it teaches us that we do not need to have all the answers immediately, nor do we need to rush through life. By slowing down, we can better appreciate the journey rather than focusing solely on the destination. Moreover, stepping back allows us to reconnect with ourselves. In the hustle of everyday life, it can be easy to lose touch with our true desires, our inner voice, and our sense of purpose. We may become so focused on external expectations or responsibilities that we forget what truly makes us happy or fulfilled. Taking a step back provides the opportunity to reconnect with who we are, what we truly value, and what we want to create in our lives. This reconnection is essential for our well-being, as it allows us to align our actions with our authentic selves rather than with the pressures or expectations imposed upon us. In the end, taking a step back is not a sign of failure or weakness. Rather, it is an act of wisdom, self-respect, and self-care. It allows us to step out of the noise of our daily lives, regain our sense of direction, and return to the world with renewed clarity and purpose. It is a reminder that we do not have to constantly push, strive, or hustle to achieve our goals. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is to pause, reflect, and give ourselves the space we need to move forward with intention and balance. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let go of the need to understand everything. Life is complex, and it often presents situations and challenges that seem confusing, frustrating, or unjust. We tend to have an inherent desire to understand why things happen, to find logical explanations for the events and circumstances we encounter. We search for meaning in every experience, trying to make sense of the pain, the losses, and the difficulties. This search for understanding is natural. It is human to want to know why things happen the way they do. However, there are times when the search for understanding can actually hinder our progress and growth. Sometimes, the most empowering thing we can do is let go of the need to understand and simply accept things as they are. When we try to force an understanding of every situation, we often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of overthinking. We may replay events over and over in our minds, trying to figure out what went wrong or how things could have been different. This constant mental loop can prevent us from moving forward and can prevent us from experiencing the growth that is waiting on the other side of the challenge. We may find ourselves stuck in the past, unable to let go of the need for closure or a clear answer. The need to understand can paralyze us, preventing us from accepting reality and making peace with it. Sometimes the lessons we need to learn don't come with immediate clarity. We may face situations where the reasons for our struggles are not immediately apparent. We may go through periods of pain, loss, or disappointment and find ourselves questioning why we had to experience them. In these moments, it can feel unfair or senseless. But life is not always linear, and the full meaning of our experiences may not be revealed to us right away. It's only after some time has passed, after we've had the chance to grow and gain perspective, that the lessons begin to unfold. Sometimes it takes distance from a situation to understand how it contributed to our personal development. In these moments, trusting that there is a purpose behind the chaos, even if we don't understand it, is a critical part of personal growth. Letting go of the need to understand also requires us to let go of the need to control. We often seek understanding because we want to control the situation or the outcome. We want to have a clear picture of how things will unfold so that we can feel secure. However, control is an illusion. No matter how much we plan, organize, or strategize, life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges our way. When we release the need for complete understanding and control, we free ourselves from the pressure of trying to predict every twist and turn. Instead of focusing on having all the answers, we can focus on how we respond to the uncertainty and what we can do in the present moment. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up on our goals or intentions. It means recognizing that sometimes the process of life is not something we can dictate, and that's okay. Another powerful aspect of letting go of the need to understand is that it encourages acceptance. We are often resistant to accepting things that don't make sense to us. We want everything to fit neatly into a box with clear explanations and outcomes. But life rarely fits into neat categories, and things don't always go the way we expect or desire. Acceptance doesn't mean that we approve of everything that happens, nor does it mean we resign ourselves to passivity. Instead, acceptance means acknowledging the reality of a situation without trying to fight it or change it. It means saying, this is where I am right now, and though I don't understand why things have unfolded in this way, I will make peace with it and move forward. Acceptance allows us to release the resistance that keeps us stuck in confusion and frustration. It frees us to heal, learn, and grow. There is also great power in letting go of the need to understand when it comes to our relationships with others. We often try to understand the behaviors and actions of those around us, particularly when they don't align with our expectations. We may seek answers to questions like, why did they do that? Or what were they thinking? We try to make sense of the way others behave, especially when their actions hurt or confuse us. However, no matter how much we try to understand, we cannot control or predict the actions of others. People have their own motivations, experiences, and perspectives that shape their behavior in ways we may never fully comprehend. Letting go of the need to understand others' actions allows us to release judgment and resentment. It allows us to accept people as they are, rather than forcing them into our idea of what they should be. By doing this, we create space for more authentic connections based on acceptance rather than the need for understanding. Letting go of the need to understand can also foster greater trust in ourselves and the process of life. When we stop trying to figure everything out, we begin to trust that life will unfold as it should. We trust that even though we may not see the full picture right now, there is a larger plan at work that is guiding us toward our best path. This trust allows us to relax and flow with life, rather than constantly fighting against it. Trusting ourselves means believing that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way, even when we don't have all the answers. It means knowing that we don't need to understand every little detail to move forward. In the end, letting go of the need to understand everything doesn't mean abandoning our desire for knowledge or personal growth. It simply means accepting that some things are beyond our comprehension at this moment in time, and that's okay. Sometimes the most important step we can take in life is to release our need for control and understanding and trust that everything is unfolding as it should. The answers will come when they are meant to, and in the meantime, we can embrace the journey with faith, patience, and openness to whatever comes next. Embrace the discomfort of change as a necessary catalyst for growth. Change, though often feared, is one of the most powerful forces for personal development. It is natural to feel uneasy when faced with the unfamiliar or the unknown. We often resist change because it challenges the status quo, pushing us out of our comfort zones and into territories that are unfamiliar and unpredictable. However, it is precisely this discomfort that makes change so valuable. Without it, growth would be stagnant and progress would be impossible. Embracing discomfort doesn't mean seeking out unnecessary suffering, but rather accepting that discomfort is an inevitable part of the transformative process. When we face change, it often comes with a sense of uncertainty. We don't know what the future holds, and that lack of control can create feelings of anxiety or fear. But rather than seeing this uncertainty as a negative, we can reframe it as an opportunity. Uncertainty is what makes life exciting. It holds the promise of new experiences, new challenges, and new possibilities. If we were to stay in the comfort of the familiar forever, we would never have the chance to discover what we are truly capable of. Change forces us to adapt, to problem solve, and to evolve in ways that would not be possible if everything remained the same. The discomfort we feel is simply the body's and mind's way of signaling that we are moving into a new phase of life, one that requires us to stretch beyond our current limits. One of the key reasons we resist change is the fear of failure. When faced with a new challenge, we often worry that we won't be able to succeed, that we will make mistakes, or that we will fall short in some way. This fear can paralyze us, keeping us stuck in situations that are safe but unfulfilling. However, failure is not something to be feared. It is a crucial part of growth. Every successful person has encountered failure along the way, but it is how they responded to failure that ultimately determined their success. Embracing the discomfort of change means accepting that failure is an inevitable part of the journey. It's not the failure itself that matters, but what we do with it. If we can see failure as a learning opportunity, as a stepping stone on the path to success, we can move forward with confidence rather than fear. Another reason change is often uncomfortable is that it requires us to let go of what is familiar. Whether it's a relationship, a job, or a routine, there is a certain level of attachment we develop to the things that define our daily lives. Letting go can feel like a loss, and that feeling of loss can trigger grief or sadness. Yet letting go is essential for growth. If we continue to hold on to what no longer serves us, we prevent ourselves from making space for new experiences and opportunities. Change is often about releasing the old to make room for the new. While the process of letting go can be painful, it is also incredibly freeing. When we release what no longer serves us, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, new ways of thinking, and new paths forward. The discomfort of letting go is temporary, but the growth that comes from it is lasting. In addition to the personal growth that change offers, it also enhances our ability to relate to others. Change forces us to interact with the world in different ways, which can deepen our understanding of ourselves and others. When we step outside our comfort zones, we are often confronted with new perspectives, new cultures, and new ways of thinking. This broadens our worldview and fosters empathy and compassion. As we embrace discomfort and change in our own lives, we also become more capable of supporting others through their own transitions. Our shared experiences of change create bonds of understanding and solidarity, making us more resilient as individuals and as a society. It's important to recognize that not all change is immediately obvious or dramatic. Sometimes the most profound changes happen internally, beneath the surface. These subtle shifts can be harder to notice, but they are just as important. For example, when we face challenging situations that push us out of our comfort zones, we may not see the immediate impact, but over time, the lessons we learn through discomfort accumulate, leading to changes in our mindset, our behaviors, and our outlook on life. Change is often a process rather than an event, and it is only when we look back that we realize how far we've come. While discomfort is an inherent part of change, it's essential to approach it with a mindset of curiosity rather than resistance. The more we resist discomfort, the more we prolong the process of growth. Instead, we can choose to lean into the discomfort knowing that it is temporary and that it will ultimately lead to positive transformation. When we approach change with openness and willingness, we not only make the process easier, but also more rewarding. Discomfort, rather than being something to avoid, becomes something to embrace. It is a signal that we are on the right path, expanding our capabilities and becoming more of who we are meant to be. Ultimately, change is not something that happens to us. It is something we can actively participate in. The discomfort that comes with change is not a sign of something going wrong, but rather an indicator that something new is taking place. By embracing change and the discomfort that accompanies it, we unlock our potential for growth, development, and transformation. It's through discomfort that we discover our resilience, our adaptability, and our ability to thrive in the face of challenges. The discomfort of change is not an obstacle. It is the very catalyst for the new, the better, and the more fulfilling life that awaits us. Trust the process of life's transitions. Life is a series of transitions, some large, some small, but all have their place in the broader journey. Often we find ourselves caught in the uncertainty and discomfort that accompany these transitions. Whether it's a change in career, a shift in relationships, or a move to a new place, the fear of the unknown can cause us to resist what's unfolding before us. We want the security of predictability, the comfort of knowing what comes next, but the truth is, life's transitions, though challenging, are an essential part of personal growth, and learning to trust the process can help us navigate these periods with greater ease and confidence. The first thing to recognize about life's transitions is that they are inevitable. We cannot avoid change, no matter how much we try to control our circumstance. In fact, trying to prevent change or refusing to embrace it can lead to frustration, stagnation, and a sense of being stuck. Transitions, no matter how uncomfortable they may seem in the moment, are an inherent part of life. They are signals that something is shifting within us or around us, often for the better. While we may not always see it immediately, every transition holds the potential for new opportunities, new insights, and new paths forward. One of the most common challenges during life's transitions is the fear of the unknown. When we're faced with a major change, it's natural to feel uncertain, anxious, or overwhelmed. We don't know exactly what the future will look like, and that can be unsettling. However, it's important to remember that life is inherently uncertain. We cannot predict every twist and turn, but we can trust that we have the resilience, wisdom, and resources to handle whatever comes our way. Trusting the process of life's transitions means surrendering to the flow of events and accepting that we may not have all the answers right away. Trusting the process also involves letting go of all attachments to control everything. We only need to be open to what life brings and remain adaptable as we move forward. Trusting the process also involves letting go of our attachment to specific outcomes. Often, we hold tight to certain expectations or plans, believing that things need to unfold in a particular way for us to feel successful or fulfilled. This attachment to a rigid outcome can cause unnecessary stress and disappointment when things don't go as planned. Life's transitions often force us to step outside of our comfort zones and let go of the path we thought we should be on. By trusting the process, we allow ourselves the freedom to release these expectations and embrace whatever comes next, knowing that we are exactly where we need to be. One of the keys to trusting life's transitions is understanding that not every change is immediately comfortable or easy. Transitions can be messy, confusing, and even painful at times. We may experience loss, grief, or frustration as we navigate through periods of change. However, It's in these difficult moments that we often learn the most about ourselves. When we are pushed out of our comfort zones, we are forced to grow. We discover new strengths, gain new perspectives, and learn to adapt in ways we never thought possible. While we may not always understand the reasons for the transitions we experience, we can trust that they are leading us towards something greater. It's through these challenging moments that we often find our true purpose, and the discomfort is simply a sign that we are moving in the direction of growth. Additionally, trusting the process means embracing patience. Transitions rarely happen overnight. They often unfold gradually, with many small steps and moments of uncertainty along the way. It's easy to become impatient and want the answers to come quickly, but true growth takes time. Trusting the process means having faith that even when we don't have immediate clarity, things are unfolding in the right direction. Patience allows us to move through transitions with a sense of peace, knowing that we don't need to have everything figured out all at once. The beauty of life's transitions is that they often reveal themselves in layers, and we discover new pieces of the puzzle as we go along. At the heart of trusting life's transitions is the belief that everything is happening for us, not to us. Life has a way of presenting us with the experiences and lessons we need at exactly the right time. Even when we face challenges or setbacks, they are often the catalyst for important changes that lead us toward greater fulfillment and purpose. Trusting the process means adopting the mindset that everything, both good and bad, is part of the bigger picture. It's about trusting that we are always being guided, even when we don't fully understand the direction. Each transition is part of a larger plan that is unfolding in ways we may not immediately see, but will understand over time. One of the most empowering aspects of trusting life's transitions is the realization that we are not passive participants in the process. While we cannot control every aspect of change, we do have control over how we respond to it. Trusting the process doesn't mean sitting back and waiting for things to happen to us. It means actively engaging with the changes that are happening around us. It means choosing to respond with openness, curiosity, and a willingness to learn from every experience. By taking responsibility for our reactions and embracing change with an open heart, we empower ourselves to shape the future rather than simply reacting to it. When we learn to trust the process of life's transitions, we free ourselves from the grip of fear and anxiety. Instead of resisting change, we begin to welcome it as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. We stop looking backward, trying to recreate what was, and start looking forward, embracing the new possibilities that lie ahead. Transitions may never be easy, but when we trust the process, we open ourselves to a life that is richer, more fulfilling, and full of potential. Letting go is a form of self-respect. In life, we often find ourselves in situations, relationships, or circumstances where we feel obligated to hold on, whether it's out of love, duty, or fear of being alone. But sometimes, the most respectful thing we can do for ourselves is to let go of what no longer serves us. This act of releasing can be one of the most powerful demonstrations of self-love and self-respect. It is not an act of weakness or failure, but rather a recognition of our own worth and the acknowledgement that we deserve better. When we hold on to situations, people, or things that no longer bring us joy or growth, we are often doing so at the expense of our own well-being. We become attached to these things out of a sense of obligation, nostalgia, or fear of change. But in doing so, we deny ourselves the opportunity for progress, for healthier connections, and for the personal growth we deserve. Letting go, in this context, is an expression of self-respect because it acknowledges that we are worthy of peace, joy, and fulfillment. By releasing what no longer serves us, we create the space to invite better things into our lives. At times, it can be difficult to let go, especially when there are emotional ties or when we have invested significant time and energy into something or someone. But by holding on to unhealthy relationships, jobs, or situations, we are only enabling cycles of frustration, dissatisfaction, or even harm. In many cases, These things can hold us back from realizing our full potential. It's easy to feel as though we should stay in certain situations because we've invested so much of ourselves into them. However, holding on in such a way can actually undermine our sense of self-worth. When we choose to let go, we are choosing to prioritize our happiness and well-being over fear, guilt, or obligation. One of the most powerful ways letting go reflects self-respect is in the context of relationships. We often hold on to relationships, whether with friends, family, or romantic partners, out of a desire to preserve the connection, to avoid conflict, or to avoid the pain that comes with change. The fear of hurting someone or being hurt ourselves can keep us clinging to relationships that are no longer healthy. However, staying in a toxic or unfulfilling relationship is often more damaging than allowing it to end. By letting go, we are respecting not only our own needs and boundaries, but also the other person's ability to grow and move forward. In these situations, letting go becomes an act of self-care and mutual respect, as it opens the door for both individuals to pursue what is best for them. It is important to recognize that letting go doesn't mean that we are rejecting the value or importance of the past, but doesn't mean we are negating the experiences, the lessons, or the love that we shared with someone. Letting go simply means recognizing when something has come to its natural end. It means acknowledging that despite the positive memories or the good intentions, the relationship or situation is no longer helping us grow. This act of release is not about erasing the past or minimizing its significance, but about understanding that we deserve more than what is currently being offered. By respecting ourselves enough to walk away, we allow ourselves the opportunity to heal, grow, and move toward healthier, more fulfilling connections. Letting go can also be a powerful tool for personal growth when it comes to releasing our own limiting beliefs and habits. We often hold on to certain thought patterns, behaviors, or self-perceptions that no longer serve us, whether out of fear, comfort, or familiarity. For example, we may continue to cling to beliefs that we are not good enough, that we don't deserve success, or that we are incapable of change. These beliefs, though often formed out of past experiences, can limit our potential and prevent us from reaching our goals. Letting go of these self-imposed limitations is a crucial form of self-respect because it acknowledges that we are worthy of happiness, success, and fulfillment. It is only by releasing these negative beliefs that we can make room for new, empowering ways of thinking and being. In many ways, letting go requires courage. It takes courage to walk away from relationships that are no longer nurturing. It takes courage to leave behind situations that no longer align with our values or goals. It takes courage to confront the discomfort of change and uncertainty. But this courage is a reflection of our self-respect because it shows that we are willing to prioritize our own well-being and future over the immediate discomfort of releasing what is familiar. The act of letting go is often a recognition that, in order to grow and become the person we are meant to be, we must first clear the space to allow for new experiences and opportunities. When we let go, we send a clear message to ourselves and others that we value our own peace of mind, our health, and our personal growth. We are saying that we are worthy of better, that we respect ourselves too much to stay stuck in situations or relationships that no longer serve us. And by doing this, we set a powerful example for others to follow. We teach others that it is okay to put their own needs first, that it is okay to walk away when something is no longer beneficial. We show that letting go is not a sign of weakness or failure, but a courageous act of self-love, self-respect, and personal empowerment. It's a declaration that we are committed to honoring our true selves and moving forward with integrity and purpose. Growth often requires the removal of outdated influences. As we navigate through life, we encounter a variety of influences, people, environments, beliefs, and experiences that shape us. Some of these influences are positive and transformative, guiding us toward greater understanding, strength, and purpose. However, not all influences are beneficial in the long term. Some of them, while perhaps serving us at one point in our lives, can become stagnant, limiting, or even toxic. These outdated influences can prevent us from growing, evolving, and becoming the best versions of ourselves. It is essential to recognize when it is time to remove them and make space for new influences that will encourage our growth. The process of growth is not always linear. It often involves a series of steps forward and backward, moments of clarity and confusion, and experiences that challenge us in ways we didn't expect. As we grow, we begin to change, not just externally, but internally in the ways we think, feel, and approach the world. What may have once worked for us or served us in a certain context may no longer be effective as we evolve. Our needs, desires, and perspectives shift over time, and as this happens, we may find that certain influences that once helped us thrive are now hindering our progress. These outdated influences can come in many forms. They might be relationships that no longer align with our values or aspirations. People we once considered close friends may no longer support or encourage us in the ways we need. They might even discourage us, either intentionally or unintentionally, from pursuing our goals and dreams. In these situations, the decision to remove these relationships from our lives isn't about abandoning people, but about recognizing that they no longer contribute positively to our journey. The longer we stay tied to these relationships, the more we risk staying stagnant in our personal development, unable to move forward and embrace the new opportunities life has to offer. Outdated influences can also manifest in our environments, our surroundings. The people we spend time with, the places we frequent, the workspaces we inhabit can have a profound impact on our mindset and behavior. If we are constantly surrounded by negativity, pessimism, or complacency, it becomes difficult to maintain a positive outlook or to stay motivated. Environments that are cluttered, chaotic, or uninspiring can contribute to feelings of overwhelm or lack of direction. In these cases, growth often requires us to take a step back, assess our surroundings, and remove the elements that no longer support our well-being or success. Creating an environment that nurtures our goals and aspirations is an essential part of personal growth. Sometimes this means cutting ties with people or places that drain our energy and moving towards spaces that inspire and uplift us. Another significant influence that may need to be removed is outdated or limiting beliefs. We all carry beliefs about ourselves, the world, and our potential that shape our actions and decisions. These beliefs are often formed early in life and are reinforced by our experiences, family dynamics, culture, and society. Some of these beliefs are empowering and help us navigate life with confidence and resilience. However, other beliefs can be restrictive, holding us back from pursuing our true potential. These beliefs may tell us that we are not worthy, that success is unattainable, or that we are bound by our past. Over time, these beliefs can become deeply ingrained, limiting our ability to grow and achieve our goals. In order to move forward, it is essential to identify and challenge these limiting beliefs. Removing them allows us to replace them with empowering, growth-oriented beliefs that align with our true capabilities and desires. The removal of outdated influences can also extend to our habits and behaviors. Our habits shape our lives, for better or worse. Some habits contribute to our health, productivity, and happiness, while others can sabotage our progress and well-being. Over time, we may develop habits that are no longer serving us, whether it's procrastination, negative self-talk, or unhealthy coping mechanisms. These habits may have served a purpose at one point, but as we evolve, they can hold us back from achieving our full potential. Growth requires us to examine our behaviors, let go of the ones that no longer align with our goals, and replace them with new, more constructive habits. This process is not always easy, but it is essential for personal development. Removing outdated influences can feel uncomfortable at first. It often requires us to step out of our comfort zones and confront the unknown. We may feel a sense of loss, fear, or uncertainty about letting go of things or people that have been part of our lives for a long time. However, it is important to recognize that growth and transformation often require discomfort. In order to move forward, we must be willing to let go of the things that are holding us back, even if they have provided us with a sense of security or familiarity. This willingness to release what no longer serves us opens up the space for new influences, people, opportunities, and experiences that will encourage our growth and help us become the person we are meant to be. Ultimately, the removal of outdated influences is a necessary step in the process of growth. It allows us to create the space we need to evolve, to embrace new opportunities, and to align ourselves with the people, environments, and beliefs that will support our journey. While it may be difficult to let go of the past, it is important to remember that doing so is not an act of abandonment or failure. It is an act of self-care, a commitment to honoring our own growth and well-being. By removing outdated influences, we clear the path for new, more empowering influences that will help us thrive and reach our full potential. Recognize that not all relationships are meant to last forever. This idea can be difficult for many to accept, especially in a world where we often believe that deep connections should endure no matter the circumstances. We are taught to value loyalty, commitment, and the idea that real relationships stand the test of time. Yet, the reality is that some relationships serve their purpose for a specific period in our lives and then come to an end. Holding on to relationships that are no longer meant to be can hinder our personal growth and keep us stuck in places where we no longer belong. People come into our lives for different reasons, and each relationship carries its own unique lesson. Some people may be present to guide us through a challenging period, offering support, wisdom, or companionship when we need it most. Others may come into our lives to teach us about ourselves, our strengths, weaknesses, or unresolved issues. These relationships can be invaluable, but they do not always last forever. Sometimes the lesson is simply that we need to move on, grow apart, and create space for new connections that are more aligned with who we are becoming. One of the most challenging aspects of relationships is that we often invest so much emotionally, mentally, and physically that we believe they should last indefinitely. We create narratives in our minds about how things should be. We envision lifelong friendships or romantic relationships that will carry us through the ups and downs of life. And when these relationships start to deteriorate, it can feel like a failure or a personal loss. But the truth is, not every person we meet is meant to remain in our lives forever. And that doesn't mean that the relationship wasn't valuable. It simply means that its purpose has been fulfilled. The fear of losing someone can often cause us to hold on too tightly, preventing us from seeing that it's time to let go. We fear that if we let go, we will be left with a void. We worry that we'll never find someone to replace the person who's leaving. But in reality, the void that we fear is often the very space we need to allow for new relationships to blossom. When we refuse to let go, we keep ourselves locked in a stagnant situation, preventing ourselves from experiencing new opportunities, growth, and connections. The relationships that no longer serve us, whether they are friendships, family ties, or romantic partnerships, can become chains that prevent us from moving forward. In many cases, the decision to end a relationship or to allow it to naturally fade is a form of self-care. It can be incredibly difficult to recognize when a relationship is no longer healthy, but doing so is essential for our well-being. Sometimes relationships become toxic, draining, or one-sided. These types of relationships can chip away at our sense of self-worth, leaving us feeling depleted and disconnected from who we truly are. Staying in these relationships out of obligation or fear of loneliness can be more damaging than walking away. Recognizing when a relationship is no longer serving us allows us to preserve our energy for the people and experiences that will nurture, support us. It's important to remember that just because a relationship is ending doesn't mean we are rejecting the person. It's about recognizing that we've outgrown one another or that our paths no longer align. People change, and so do relationships. The version of ourselves that entered the relationship may no longer be the same person we are today. As we evolve, our needs and desires shift. Sometimes we simply outgrow the relationship, and that's okay. There's no shame in realizing that you're no longer compatible with someone, even if the relationship was meaningful at one point in time. This is particularly important in romantic relationships. Many people hold on to relationships long after they've run their course because they fear being alone or feel guilty about leaving someone who still cares. But staying in a relationship that no longer aligns with your true self can be more harmful than facing the discomfort of moving on. In these situations, we often stay out of a sense of obligation or the false belief that love alone can sustain a relationship. However, love cannot fix fundamental incompatibilities or address deeper issues that have not been resolved. It's essential to understand that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for both yourself and the other person is to let go and allow both individuals to move forward and grow. When we hold on to relationships that no longer serve us, we close ourselves off from the possibility of new, healthier connections. Every relationship teaches us something about ourselves and others, and when one ends, it opens the door for new experiences, new growth, and new people. If we are constantly looking backward, clinging to what once was, we miss the opportunity to look forward and embrace the unknown. The end of a relationship is not the end of everything. It's simply the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. Recognizing that not all relationships are meant to last forever is also about acknowledging that some people are simply meant to pass through our lives for a season. These individuals may have a specific role or purpose in our journey, and once that role is complete, they may naturally fade away. It's important to appreciate the time shared with them, to learn the lessons they offered, and to release them with gratitude. This mindset allows us to move forward without carrying the weight of regret or bitterness. Letting go of relationships that no longer serve us doesn't mean we forget about them. It means we free ourselves to embrace the next chapter of our lives. Life, in its infinite complexity, often presents us with moments of profound loss and confusion. There are times when we hold on desperately to people, relationships, and situations that no longer serve us. But what if, just maybe, these very moments of loss are not as tragic as we think? What if, instead of clinging to what's slipping away, we let go with the understanding that the very act of release is an essential step in our journey toward growth and purpose? ChatGPT said, "Embrace the inevitability of change." Change is one of the few constants we face in life. No matter how much we try to hold on to the things we know, to the people we love, or to the comfort of the familiar, change inevitably arrives, often without warning. It can come in many forms: a shift in a relationship, a change in career, the loss of a loved one, or even the subtle evolution of our own beliefs and behaviors over time. The challenge then is not whether change will come, but how we choose to respond when it does. There's something deeply human in our tendency to resist change. We have a natural inclination to cling to what we know, to seek stability in an often unpredictable world. This desire for permanence is rooted in the need for security. We fear what we cannot control, and change often represents the unknown. The unknown is uncomfortable because it threatens our sense of self, our sense of safety, and our ability to predict the future. However, to resist change at all costs can lead to stagnation. When we refuse to embrace the inevitable, we are effectively denying the opportunities for growth that change brings. What we must understand is that change doesn't always have to be feared. In fact, it is one of the most powerful catalysts for personal transformation. Without change, there would be no evolution, no progress, no opportunity to become the person we are meant to be. Every time something or someone is removed from our lives, it creates the space for something new, something that could be even better, even more aligned with who we are becoming. The discomfort that accompanies change is often just a necessary part of the process of letting go of the old to make room for the new. In the face of change, our natural instinct is to hold on tighter. We try to preserve the past, cling to old relationships, and resist the flow of life as it pushes us forward. This can be particularly true when we experience the loss of someone important in our lives. Whether it's a close friend who drifts away, a partner who moves on, or a colleague who leaves, the impulse to grasp at what we once had can be overwhelming. We think that if we hold on tightly enough, we can somehow freeze time, prevent the inevitable from occurring. But in reality, resisting change only prolongs our suffering. The more we resist, the more painful it becomes. Change, at its core, is a process of reordering our lives, of clearing away what is no longer serving us so that we can create space for what is meant to come next. This is true on both a small, personal level and a larger existential scale. When we accept the inevitability of change, we stop fighting against it and we begin to flow with it. We begin to see that each change, no matter how difficult it may seem at first, is an opportunity. It's an invitation to grow, to evolve, and to become more aligned with our true selves. One of the most profound ways we can embrace the inevitability of change is by letting go of attachment. Attachment is often the source of much of our suffering. We become so deeply attached to people, places, or outcomes that we forget to live in the present moment. We place our identity in external factors, such as our relationships or our status, and when those things change or disappear, we feel as though we've lost a part of ourselves. The truth, however, is that our worth and our purpose are not dependent on any one person or circumstance. By letting go of attachment, we allow ourselves to experience life more freely and more fully. When we learn to embrace change, we also learn to embrace uncertainty. Life is unpredictable and the future is never guaranteed. But in that uncertainty lies the potential for something greater than we can imagine. We don't know what the next chapter of our lives holds, but if we are willing to release our grip on what was and open ourselves to what could be, we create the possibility for something beautiful to unfold. It's this willingness to embrace the unknown that allows us to experience true freedom. When we stop trying to control everything, we begin to experience life as it is, with all its messiness and beauty. In order to truly embrace change, we must also be willing to accept that we cannot predict or control the timing of change. Sometimes change arrives abruptly with little to no warning. Other times it comes gradually with subtle shifts that we may not even notice until we look back and realize how much has changed. Regardless of how it manifests, the key is to be open to it. We cannot force change to happen on our terms, and we cannot hold on to the past when it's no longer relevant. The sooner we accept that change is inevitable, the sooner we can begin to navigate it with grace and confidence. Ultimately, embracing the inevitability of change is about surrender. It's about surrendering to the flow of life and trusting that we are exactly where we need to be. It's about accepting that change, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it may be, is part of our journey and is necessary for our growth. By embracing change, we stop resisting what is and begin to welcome what could be. In doing so, we open ourselves to a life that is fuller, richer, and more aligned with our true potential.